Another one of these amazing episodes with another badass guest. This time, though, with Aisha, she's everywhere. You want to talk about traveling and being an artist and being creative and being all over. This is it. Excuse me. This is the episode that you want to get to because she's going to give us insight above and beyond just us lonely old Americans and what we can do, but what's out there in the world for us and being able to live that way so you're not just stuck in alone of where you are. Without further ado, why don't you tell us what you got going on? Well, actually, where are you right now today? And talk to us about what you do every day.
Well, right now I'm in Lisbon, Portugal. I do a lot of things. Today I'm finishing my second book called like a Dream Life and Flow, and was doing my art, getting ready for my next solo art exhibition. And of course, working towards open my new company that would be connected mostly working with creative thinking and, kind of like deciding was who I want to work with on creative thinking. And I think it's going to be like a CEO and the founders and startups for my for this year. And that's kind of my today goals. Today was working a lot on my putting the next 6 months together. And you caught me on this because I was like, oh my gosh, it's just so much to do. Every day is so much to do actually when you living your dream life. And I'm sailing right now as well. So started to get a course by the end of this January, by the end of this month. So I'm going to be a skipper and started to do more hours towards my next dream that I want to live. It's travel around the world on a boat, and it's not going to happen now. You get to prepare for your dream to get confidence in the area and practice.
Talk to us about like how you were raised, where you were raised at, how you grew up before you decided to live your dream
Well, I grew up. I was born in Mongolia. My mother abandoned me when I was 2, so I grew up in Russia, and very small village. I mean, it's like little town next to the borders with Mongolia, and as a kid, I was always like to explore, and I like to kind of um, see what is there because I didn't grow up in this environment where parents get to take care of you and always scary of you or something like that. So I didn't have that environment around me. So I get to go and explore every time what I want to create, how I want to live my life. So I've been already. Free, or I would say curious to live my life the way I want and started to create different ideas what I want to do. The first, of course, I want to just go and explore what's around me. As a kid, you just want to go and explore and you don't know because you don't know you just started to speak, right? Or just few words you understand. And of course probably in the beginning why I was doing it to look for my mom or looking for the people that and this is why I started to run away. And eventually, of course, in some point in my life, I just give up on this idea because I realized that it doesn't matter how far I will run away, they will bring me back and, punish me for that because I'm running away. And so it was not easy time of my life, I would say like this, because you get to kind of deal with so many different things in the same time, know how to adapt in this harsh environment, even so you don't understand that it's harsh environment as a kid because you're living in this environment, you don't have anything to compare with. And I feel like even so you understand that it's not good because I always thinking it's not something happiness about, it's not something joy about. In my mind I already was, when I started to grow up, I was like, it's not like this, it's not good, and I started to kind of teach or communicate it with other kids. And yeah, and I become this leader who is taking all these kids on adventure, and of course we get punished for that because it was too dangerous sometimes. It was time passed by, and I become a teenager. I was in a bad company, I was living in the street, and because I was moved to the bigger kind of like a city, and I've been in shelters, and it was not. It was a tough time, and when I'm remembering it, it's I don't know, but for me, I had fun. It doesn't matter. It was tough, but I was kind of this is stuff cookie because that's the environment around you. You kind of used to that environment. And as a teenager, we were always was fighting. We scheduled these fights and I've been this gangster, was a gangster, I don't know. I just feel like that's life, that you cannot change the things, right? It's just part of who you are today. And I would not say That was bad experience because that was just experience as any other experiences in my life, and I don't judge like, oh, this was good experience, this was like bad experience. All the experience, you're learning something from that. And what I learned from that experience when I started to be older, or like, get to finish the school, was not easy either, because I didn't care so much in the end that teachers treat me very bad, and in the end it was like just whole mess. And eventually, of course, I finished the school. And I remember when I finished the school, and I said to my teachers that I want to be a journalist and I want to travel around the world, and they didn't give me this opportunity. They put very bad scores in my like, I don't know, diploma, like the book, so I couldn't get to the journalist school. And actually, because I actually was orphan, I had a quote. I actually could get free to any university, and they sold my quote. They didn't tell me. I got know about that year after that, when I was already in the university. So I just Googled it, and I said, who we need right now, because I couldn't get where I want, and we need engineers. So I started to get into engineering school was easy, because they accept, they don't have girls. So I've been just one of four girls in my class. Only was guys, and the mathematics and all this, like, study was always easy for me. So like for me it was like, okay, it's just like something that easy to get a job when I finish. That was kind of like the idea. When you're young, you don't understand. But the point is, when I've been a teenager and I was not in these good companies, I also faced one of like very not pleasant experiences, would say, like the death. Many of my friends, they didn't even, that time I was hanging out with the gangsters, so they didn't even survive until 18. So they died in a different accidents and overdose or whatever, like, and I get to face so that reality and go in the funerals. And I was thinking like, would I survive until 18? Would I live actually longer than that? And and I said to myself, I get to dream. So that I when age 15, I started to create these dreams. I want to travel around the world. I want to be businesswoman. I want to be mentor. I want to be volunteering for UNESCO and UN. And so I started to, like, because I was reading a lot of books, and I love to read as well. I'm like, I would call myself like nerd, and I learned actually English on my own, because I was probably like around 8 9 years, and I was in the library all the time. And I found this magazine with like advertising about English school. So I wrote them like long letter explaining about my, what who I am, the way I am, who I am. So they said I don't have money to buy their courses or anything like that. So they started to send me packages for free. I started to by writing this motivation letter. they they started to send me all these packages for free. So I remember there was a cassette, like, and so I was like doing my best in my own learning English, because I was like, it's important. I don't know why. I was a very young kid. I felt like it was important for me to learn English. And I remember that many things, like in life, you just started, when you're facing them, you just started to think why. You started to kind of like understanding deeper why I'm doing what I'm doing, why I'm like creating what I'm creating. Because as a kid, you don't understand. You're just there. You're just like moving around. You're doing something, and adults tell you to go there. Adults tell you to wake up at 7 a.m. Adults tell you to go to sleep at 11 or 10 p.m. And you started to ask why. Why would this like this? And even so, I've been rebellious. I call like rebellious and very like fighter. As a kid, I was very aggressive and didn't listen to anyone. I was fight with everyone all the time. And I feel like right now I'm peaceful human being. At that time, I was not at all. And when I started to study, I realized I was studying in a small town compared, to Russia. It was like a small town in the middle of Russia. And I said to myself, I get to move to capital. I was already traveling a little bit, hitchhiking with like hitchhiking community there, because I was like, I love to travel, but I traveled just around like a little bit, maybe Siberia for like a 1 week or 2 weeks. I started to kind of like organize the money, understand how the money works and how I want to organize. Started to hustle already that time, before I turned even 18. And I feeling like for me, money is always like coming and go. I get to just organize like amount that is good for me. or kind of I feel comfortable with, like feeling comfortable in the way that, oh, it's okay, I can still survive next 2 3 months, until I started to think something. And what happened is one day by traveling like this with hitchhiking, I ended up in Moscow, and I was feeling like, oh my gosh, this is the place for me. If I want to travel around the world, I get to move to the capital. And I was thinking how I don't know anyone, and capital for me in that moment of my life was so big and so overwhelming. And I was feeling so small and like feeling like, oh my gosh, it's so many people, it's overwhelming me. And it took me like probably extra year or so, like almost 2 years, to actually make that decision and move to the capital, because I was very active in the community of the university. I was organizing many events all the time, being like this leader without title. I didn't call myself like leader, it just naturally kind of like happening because of my attitude, I think. And I have this idea of the confidence that I know, how to do that, or I have ideas the way we can do it. Because since a kid, I always have these ideas. By taking kids on this adventure, I was telling them, if you're going to cry, I will not take you next time with me. I was really telling them that, because it's just so iron when the kids cry and they started to, because with kids, like, they want to eat, they want to drink, and they want to, like, they started to cry at some point, and you get to kind of like think what to do, because if we're going back, so it's maybe 1 hour back, and it's like, or we continue and I will show them what they want to see, this river or this amazing tree or this little animals or like these flowers, and if we're going to come back, so we cannot see anything. So sometimes we cannot see anything. So I get to take them back because it was too much drama and I couldn't like deal with that drama. So like I get already in a very early age kind of like be this adult deciding how to manage all these kids around, because they always want to go with me. The thing is, I decide to, do I want to go with them or not, because by myself I always go and discover and I have a great time. And when I'm going with someone, it's always like something, it's like I get to manage, I get to kind of organize, I get to kind of think who I want to take with me, who is not going to cry, I know, and who is going to cry. I already knew. And that's what I think in adult life, when you started to be student, it's the same. It's just different, a different kind of way, but it's kind of the same. Who is complaining a lot? Who is kind of want to find solution? You kind of like listen and you understand. Okay, I want to work with these people, and I don't want to so much work with this. And I understand they're also important because they're my colleagues. We're kind of in we're a team, and you get to accept everyone, even they're complaining too much or crying, like crybabies, I call them. And so like for, for me, when I moved to Moscow eventually, because I was organizing a lot of forums and I was very like leader, and eventually they invited me, university, like invited me to the other university and said to me, okay, you can move. Like I got free, the budget, what that called seat in Moscow. So I moved to Moscow, and less than, I think, in 9 months after that, I like 6 months after in Moscow, I applied for the exchange student in Norway, and I applied Norway, Netherlands, and Germany. And with like help of my friend, she was like cheating a little bit because I didn't speak English, and she was taking motivation letter for me. She was writing. I wrote everything with a Google Translator that time, and she was correcting everything. So we sent all this motivation letter, and eventually I've been accepted by Norway. And I remember my friends was telling me, oh, it's 1,000 people applying, you will not get in. I said, like, it doesn't matter. At least I try. At least I do something. Like maybe it will work out, maybe not. You never know. And it worked out. So I moved after 9 months to Norway as exchange student for 1 year program, and I stayed. I applied for the program, and I started to work as engineer. I was just knocking the door when I got my approval from Russia, and I started to knock on the door and asking for the jobs. I got the job at the government as engineer. I was the youngest engineer at that time in my team, and I work in the field, with the road, tunnels, and bridges. And every 6 months, I was promoted for the next position, next position. Eventually, like I got burned out. That's first time in my life by doing so much. I was volunteering. I've been leader of the Red Cross already of North Norway. That time, I've been an entrepreneurial woman with like a group of women who's all of them was older than me. And after I was creating this international women club, that's the community just asked me to create this non-profit organization. So I was selecting, or I was gathering all these women together to like organize this nonprofit. And I was working at the same time, and I had a relationship, and I traveled. Eventually, like, I burned out doing so much, having so much on me, and that was my first ever burnout. That I couldn't understand that I was burnout, and I feel actually when the second burnout happened, I already kind of like feel that it's happening, and in that time when my first burnout happened, I remember I was starting to think what I want, what I really want, because I always doing something for. I travel a lot. That's my dream. I accomplished everything. I went to New York for the New Year's. 2008 was my 1920. Like I was like 19, and I'm feeling like I already achieved all these dreams. I was dreaming like, going to New York that time. I was dreaming to go to Paris, dreaming to go to Geneva, and I think Venice and Florence. I don't know, like few places. And that was think it's going to be all my life I will spend to go there. And here I am, like in less than 20 years old. I was like just about to be like next year 20, and I was sitting there and staying in the New York Times Square, seeing this 59, 58, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm already living a dream, you know? And that time of my life, I couldn't even imagine that it's going to happen so fast in such a short time of my life. That's since like a 15 to the 20 where I accomplished so many things, and being in Times Square that moment of my life, I going to all the city even before I finished the university, that first year or that first year of university in Norway. I went all these places that I dream about, and I remember when it happened, I was like, I achieved all my dreams. That's why I started to do all of that, serving for others and doing other things for others, because I was like, I'm already living my dream. I'm already like, accomplished all the things. I'm already traveling. I'm already doing all the things. And eventually, when after 3 years or 4 years of this whole work, I realizing that I'm living not for myself. I'm like, I'm in service. It's good. And I was sitting there. I was like, okay, I'm going to be 40 years of my life working as engineer, and in some point of my life I'm achieving the highest point of this status or this position in engineering job, that I cannot grow anymore, so I can just be there for until I'm like retired. And I'm like, that's not what I wanted actually, but what I want, and I didn't know. And I went to travel first. First, I traveled for like several months around Europe and went to like other countries. As I did Europe, I think Brazil and like South America, backpacking, solo. And I remember I said like I want to be an actress, because I remember at school 4 years I did the theater, and I love it. It was so cool. I always like enjoy it, and I said like okay, I will be an actress. And my friends was like, yes, you can go and be like an actress here in Norway. And I said, no, I want to go to Los Angeles. I'm going to be actress in LA. Why I get to study all these years? I'm going to LA. And eventually, of course, when I came to LA, I started to work in background jobs, because my English skills was like very poor in that moment. I was working everywhere with a vocabulary, and it started to slowly like pick up. I would say become like a member of like LA community, acting community, and like subscribe, not subscribe, like become a member, like paying like I don't know, €1,000 or something like that. I don't remember. So I started to learn more about what it is to be an actor. And eventually, I remembering after 2 months or 3 months in LA, it was so expensive. I'm always driving around and all the time just driving in the car, living in the car mostly of the time, because you don't have to. You get to move from one background job to another, and it's every time like in a different neighborhoods, and they're so far away from each other. So I was like one day I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just living in the car. I'm not even living in the no, because I don't have time. I get to always moving around all over places, and to build my network, because everyone like you get to build a network. You get to kind of like go on all these parties, just network, network, network. And one day I was sitting like in one of these parties in the mansion, and I'm like alone, and I'm sitting and I'm looking around, and I'm saying like, which group of people I belong to, who I want to be with, like, and I was looking all this group of people who is like partying then, like they kind of getting in the groups, and I was who I belong to, and I was sitting there like, And I went to this fire around the stoners who were smoking the weed. And I came to them and I'm like, guys, I don't know what's going on. At the same time, I'm sitting here with you. I feel like the most chill people here. And I feel comfortable to sit here, like just passing the joint, around. And I feel so like kind of like comfortable, kind of. I understood like I'm this old soul who is like even so I'm not even 20, like 24, 25. I was like about that age, and I'm feeling like sitting there with all these people, and they were like giving this. We had this philosophical conversation about life, about like I don't know about universe, about how the thing works. We didn't even talk about like movies or like what it is to be famous and why to be famous. We just talk about like philosophy, philosophy of life, philosophy of experience of life. And I was just like, you know what, and we just started to talk about love, like what is love, what is like actually being love, or like being in love. Or and I was saying like I want to experience love too, I want to have really experience real love in my life. And I understood that I don't love my boyfriend that I've been with for several years already. And I said to him, I don't love you actually. I was thinking I do love you, but I don't. I realized that I think I love you and I learned to love you because you're so amazing. I always look up to him. He's like super amazing, super like educated. He's the best doctor in Norway. He's like top, 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 in many areas. And I'm like nothing, from my perspective, I'm just come from nothing. I get to kind of build myself. And here I am with like a best human of the country somehow. And I feeling I'm not enough, and of course in the beginning I was feeling like I get to be good enough for him and be like him. That's why I was started to build my career and started to be better and better and better to be like enough. And eventually I said, I'm actually enough. I don't need to like prove anything to be enough for anyone. I'm already enough. I feel already enough. I feel I'm already like I'm doing my best what I do, and I always do what I can, and I always communicate it when I can do something or I cannot do. And in that moment, I called him and said, I don't want to be with you anymore. I'm staying here in LA. And what happened? He came over, he canceled his job, he came over and asking me to come back. He said, it's not for you. It's not something you want. You're just impulsive. You're always so secretive. I will treat you better. And you probably I didn't treat you good enough. I will treat you better. And I was like, no, I just want to stay here. So he was willing enough to spend extra almost 2 months with me to like convince me actually to say that this was not something for me. Because like it's so stressful, it's so expensive, and it's so like many many things that you get to build. And you, when you don't have like this foundation, the strong foundation around you, it's a you get to be with a sugar daddy that they call, or like because you're a beautiful woman, or with someone who really want to mentor you, that will take care of you at least for 3 years until you build your career up. Because it's so expensive for the normal human being who doesn't have any connection, who is not from their country, who is like doesn't have any family connection, nothing, nothing, nothing. So you get to kind of like figuring out your own way. And I didn't want to do that. So I come back to Norway. I got my job back, and after 9 months after that, I said to my boss, I said, you know what? I probably will leave again because I don't feel happy. I want to go and like feel happy. I don't know where it is. I just want to be happy. And so I went to travel again. And that time I did the Camino de Santiago. I don't know if you know, it's like a pilgrimage, spiritual pilgrimage in Europe. So I did this Camino de Santiago for over the months to understand what true love is. And I did the solo, backpacking. Like sometimes I stay in a like albergue, or like it's a hostels, or like in a church, and you're walking all the way like towards Santiago de Compostela. It's in Spain, like a big church, and everyone is like arriving there, and kind of like this is, you are understanding that you're coming alone and you're going alone. Actually, you're always surrounded by people, and that was a profound journey for me because I realized I'm the true love. I get to be that love for myself, and I learned that okay, my next where I'm going to live next, and I want to live in somewhere in Europe. And I decided I could live somewhere like in that moment of my life. I was thinking South Italy, South France, or South Spain because I traveled there. I kind of like it that area. So I give myself time to live a little bit in all those areas. And I realized when I was in Spain, I remember in Malaga, somebody told me about Portugal. Even so, Portugal was like just next neighborhood from Spain. I didn't know anything about Portugal. I didn't have any curiosity to go to Portugal. And here I am. I came backpacking. I went to travel like for 2 weeks around Portugal. And when I arrived to Lisbon, I was like, wow, this is my city. I was just sitting staying there in Torres de Verde, like at the big this square, a huge square with all this 500 years ago, where all the ships was coming. I was like, wow, this is my city. I was like having this like profound attitude. So I moved to Lisbon, and after like I think like less than a month, I started to work in real estate, get my license in real estate, started to do luxury real estate, and after I opened the property management company and had like first we had like a 10 boutique hotel with 10 rooms. We kind of rented whole floor, and that time was very cheap to do all of that. I mean, 10 years ago it was something like that, and Airbnb just started to pick up in Lisbon, so like it was easy to build up. But the thing is, I realized again, I did it because of the money. Because it was like I was like, okay, I get to go. This was when you're early 20s, everyone is going for this million, whatever. Everyone was talking about I want to get my first $1 million, and so I realized it's different between a startup and business. When you're building the business, you're really building the relationship not just with your employees, you're also building the relationship with the community, government, more you building your business, more you're growing the business, more you're evolving with everything that's happening in the community. And not just evolving, you're also creating the different in the community. And I remember like after 3 years or so, working for almost every single day for 20 or like 24/7 all the time on the phones, like it was too, and I get again burnout. And I was feeling I'm not doing. I was always we've been like we. I remember the first year we had a revenue of 500,000, and I was like extra year, 2 years. I knew that in 5 years I will get to the of this million of euros of revenue, not like a but in revenue. And I said, well, it's very different of building because you're really, building, you're doing it, you like creating it. It's not like us when you're doing the startup, you receive the, in your investment and you kind of get to understand how to spend this your investment in more like correct way. And so for me, that experience after the burnout, what happened again, what I started to do, of course, I want to travel. That's my kind of escape. I call it like it's escape because I realized that now more and more that this was just escape. That's what my kind of way of getting out a little bit of the out of this situation and just observe a little bit and understand what's going on, what's happening, why I'm doing it. And I realized that I was doing it because of money, because of like this idea, because everyone wanted to do that, and I'm like, okay, I do it too, because kind of like this idea of this 1 million was like too cool. And I understood that it's not my idea, it's not my dream. And I started to kind of go deeper, like what is my dream, what is what I want to create. And after a while I went to the Burning Man. I mean, I used to go when I was in Los Angeles and the Burning Man as well, but it was like not so intentional because, I just go there for like a few days with some people who I know and they just take me there. And this year, 2018, I think it was 2018, 2017, 2018, I remember I said to all my friends, I'm going to the Burning Man solo. I said to my all my burner friends, I said, I don't want to stay in your camp. I don't want to. I want to do solo by my. I will manage my own tickets myself. I don't need your help. I will do everything. And then less than 3 weeks, I managed to get the tickets. I managed to get a camp. I managed absolutely everything by myself. Just going to the different platforms, like Facebook, couch surfing. And I remember when I've been in the Burning Man, I connected with one of the youngest, like it was the first year of Global Village. It's like camp with international people from around the world who's connected to the couchsurfing community. And I started to hang out with them, and I'm right now like leader of the that camp because that year I was like breaking down the camp, staying extra, I think 3 weeks with the Burning Man, volunteering for the Burning Man because I want to understand why Burning Man is so popular, why it's like people paying these tickets and why they're doing so much free work and like volunteering their own time to build the city, Black Rock City, for these 9 days. And I want to understand what motivates people, what inspires people, what's like behind this idea of Burning Man, what's the behind this idea. So I realized being there afterwards, volunteering for the Burning Man for several weeks, I realized that because the way they treat everyone equally, it's not like different between like your woman or your man or your drug or your homeless or it doesn't matter. We all one. We all like get to deal, we get to build, we get to create something beautiful for these 9 days for other people and for us to see the beauty that we create. And it's very interesting to see because Burning Man involving or included absolutely everyone. You have the space or like you have the room just by wanting to be there, it's already enough. And for me, it was very interesting to experience because I was like that. Like normally when I'm with people, I don't care if you like from this environment or that environment, I'm treating everyone the same. It's like it's normal in my mind or it's me like we're all equal, we came here, we're sharing the experience right now together and we're here to create something beautiful together in the moment. When we're not here, like when we're not here, it doesn't matter anymore because while we're here we always have a choice to do something beautiful in our life and create something beautiful out of our life. And by connecting with other people, we create the beauty. I believe I'm light, everyone is light. When we be understanding that we're all light, it's going to be so much light in this world. And that's kind of like idea of me understanding that I'm already living my dream. When I decided to live my dream when I was 15 that time, that's I'm still doing it. And every time when I'm creating the ideas, what I want to do next, I'm doing it. It's just like, but even the sending my art to the space, like for example, I was 2020 was not easy year. Everyone like going that time they went through something, right? And so I was working with the kids that time, and the kids give me all these cool ideas. So I came with this idea to send my artwork to Elon Musk, to Jeff Bezos, and to Richard Branson. And I created artwork. I sent it to the offices, and asking Elon Musk to send my art to the space. I asked Richard Branson to make me first artist astronaut to do art in the space, and asked Richard Branson to paint his rocket and like a kids do, and I just send my art to them. And I feel like right now I accomplished one of those dreams. I send my art to the space. It's engraved in golden plates and it's flying somewhere in the space. So I believe somehow the other will be accomplished too. I don't know when, I just know it will at some point in my life. It's just like you get to continue to live your life, get to continue to be joyful, continue to be happy, continue to like create things, in this like one of my creation was like I published the book called like Joy for Living, a guidebook where I connect my art and some suggestion of joy for living. And I feel like anything is possible. Absolutely anything, whatever you want in this lifetime, it's there for you. Absolutely anything is there for you to create it, to be there, to enjoy it. And we're here to live it. We're here to enjoy it. We're here to be joyful and happy. Why not? It's a choice. It's a really choice.
It is. And how you were raised and grown up as a kid, you were kind of forced into understanding that it's a choice, right? A lot of people aren't like they're just born and raised in a family that they do the same thing forever. You were forced into figuring out that life is a choice, and you can make that choice. What today, now that you've been through all that, how do you tell people and help people understand that they can make a choice, right? You had mentioned you mentioned money a little bit, but you mentioned it more like, hey, it was someone else's goal and dream and everything. And everything you've done in your life takes money, obviously. And usually that is someone's first hiccup, right? They're always going to be like, well, I don't have enough in savings, or what about retirement, or oh, you name it.
Exactly.
How do you help people go from where they're at to say, you have a choice? If you wanted to go to Burning Man, if you wanted to go to Portugal, whatever their dream may be, How do you help them understand that it's their choice and it's theirs alone to
So, well, I'm asking myself like that. I'm just one person right now. I don't have kids. I don't have husband. Even I would, like, I still like me. I get to kind of like figuring out in a little bit different way if I would have kids and have husband. But now I'm just by myself. So I said to myself, okay, if I live right now in Vietnam and taking care of me in Vietnam, so probably I need about like 300 euros a month. Having okay life. Maybe not like too expensive. I will have okay life. I will eat every day very nice. I would, have a nice place and I would be fine, and I understand, for example, if I live in Portugal, so I need a month, maybe like 1,000, 1,500. It depends how, I want to live my life. Depends what neighborhood, depends of, different things, the way I want to organize myself. When I'm traveling, actually, you don't spend so much money because you're staying in a hostel, you're staying in a couch surfing, you're always like kind of like moving, especially when you're solo, you're kind of like entrepreneur. Let's say you're just crashing on the couch and you kind of like very creative. You don't have this attitude. Okay, sometimes I'm staying on the bench, for example, when I'm traveling, so I sleep on the bench. Like, I just said to myself, just one night, 2 nights maybe. And it's not every day because like sometimes you don't book anything and everything is full. I had like this in Barcelona, for example, or like I had this the same in New York few days, and I'm just feeling like it's not about like being scary of it. It's about like just understanding that it's just tonight. It's not like it's not it's warm. You're safe. Understanding that I'm safe. Nothing will happen. If you start to be scary and be afraid, and I'm not drinking, for example. I don't do any kind of like drugs or anything like that, except like smoking weed sometimes. But the like for me, I'm just understanding that I'm safe. Nothing will happen. Like not, like everyone is kind. Everyone always want to help you, especially like in Europe. Like everyone is like, what's happening? Like, okay, like let's organize. Let's see what's. It's you saying like it's everything is full. Especially of course when it's season. It's like no places to stay. It's like people will invite you in their houses, and and they say, oh, this is my kids' room. It's like my husband, my kids is right now is my husband stay in my in the kids' room. I had this experience. Like lady just random. I was staying in the bar. I like went to the bar, and I said to them like, oh, everything is full, and I don't know what to do. And they feed me for free, and the lady was there, and she just took me to her place, and I was just staying there for like a night. And like I had many experiences where you could just be open. Had this experience like where I stayed there was no money. Even so, I had money, but I just like decided to experience what it is. If I say to the people like I don't have money, I was begging in the street for like a few hours, and in a few hours I make 200 euros, and I was like, wow, if these people, how much these people who really like begging, how much money they make. And sometimes I was telling to the people like, oh, I don't have money. Can you buy me tickets? People say yes. Some people say yes, and they do buy you ticket. So like you learning how to just play and just having fun. So like for me, I understand I just get to take care of myself, and I just ended by traveling so much. I will just know if I'm living somewhere in Asia. So like which place I want to live, why I want to live there, because I like to live in Lisbon. Lisbon is very central. I can travel absolutely everywhere. The airport is just 15 minutes away from me, and it's so easy and it's cheap. It's super cheap. Like with Ryanair, I can get ticket for 10 euro. I can go to Paris for 10 euro. I can go to Barcelona for 10 euro. It depends when you like was flexible with your time. You always can find the tickets that's super cheap. And when you like flexible in your mind, you understand that life is actually easy, and how much time you will be sick. Of course, if you have some issue with your health from the beginning, maybe better that I'm general. I'm very healthy. The maximum what I can get it's a flu. One time in a year. General, I don't have allergies. I don't have anything, so I know that I don't need to take any medicine. I don't need to like
you're
take
not
care
tied
of
to anything.
anything. I'm healthy. I do acro. I'm like always like active physically as well. So I know that to be sick or if something happened just because I'm just crazy, like if I do something crazy, if I'm jumping from the bridge, of course you will something can happen. I'm just feeling like people get to understand you if you're going to broke something. In Europe everything is free. In America it's expensive, and in Europe it's like go to the emergency is free. And like it's many things you get to understand that it's nothing to be scared of, like at all. Like in my mind, it's like people just operate from the scarcity mindset than to operate from the abundance mindset. And I understand that.
As we wrap up this episode, what's one thing that you want everyone to take from you, from this episode, you name it, that can help them on their life journey, wherever they may be?
Well, I feel like everyone get a choice no matter what. And even like how you want to feel about something, you have a choice. And remember that it's an attitude. Always have a positive attitude and always be grateful for absolutely everything that's happening for you because life is happening for us, not to us. And I believe like we're the creators of our reality, and with our attitude and with our mind we can create absolutely anything. So trust in your own journey, trust in yourself, believe in yourself, always be positive no matter what you're going through, always face all your fears because it's just illusion, and always be authentic, honest with yourself.
And I'll add on to that is ask. Just ask people. That's what I've learned the most from just listening to your story and everything you do is like you're just in there with good people and you ask. And there's nothing wrong with asking and be a part of community. Humans are designed to love each other and be around each other and help each other. And ultimately, I don't think people ask enough. They just don't ask. And so
Exactly.
that's what we're going to leave today's episode with. Obviously, you can reach out to me, Isha as well. We are both on social media. I believe people learn the most when they ask questions and communicate. And so if you want to know more, just reach out to us. We are here for you and we're here to help you on your journey. I appreciate you, everything you do, your books, because I want to be an author one day. So I'm going to work on that. But I appreciate everything you do. Your story is amazing. And I can't wait for others to hear more about you in your journey.
Thank you. Joyful living. Namaste.
The preceding program was sponsored by Black Mammoth. Any awards, rankings, or recognition by unaffiliated third parties or publications are in no way indicative of the advisor's future performance or any individual client's investment success. No award, ranking, or recognition should be construed as a current or past endorsement of Black Mammoth. Information regarding specific awards, rankings, or recognitions is available on the Black Mammoth website, www.blackmammoth.com. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. Investment strategies such as asset allocation, diversification, or rebalancing do not assure or guarantee better performance and cannot eliminate the risk of investment losses. There are no guarantees that a portfolio employing these or any other strategy will outperform a portfolio that does not engage in such strategies. This broadcast should not be construed by any client or prospective client as a solicitation to effect or attempt to effect transactions and securities or the rendering of personalized investment advice due to various factors including changing market conditions. The information discussed in this broadcast may no longer be reflective of current positions or recommendations. While information presented is believed to be factual and up-to-date, Black Mammoth do not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. The tax and estate planning information discussed is general in nature and is provided for informational purposes only and should not be construed as legal or tax advice. Listeners should consult an attorney or tax professional regarding their specific legal or tax situation. Past performance is not indicative of future results.